Alright guys, welcome once more to Edutainment for us on a political journey. Welcome. I know you'll be coming good guys, and I really love you so much because you really mean a world to me. As my audience, you mean a world to me. Without you, I can't be nothing, okay? So thank you so much for showing up again on my channel, and I really appreciate I start at this reaction early because I want today to finish these videos in time. I've really been doing very little on Life Saga TV and also on Music Hills. I need to drop a video on Music Hills and also do something longer on Life Saga. That's why I've had to start early, and I really appreciate for your support all time. So guys, today I was just thinking KPLC had put off the lights, but I've seen it has come back, so it possibly means that today we may not have a blackout. So I start with Kenyan news, of course, before I go to Ethiopia and many other countries. So guys, over the weekend, of course, we saw Gachagua in Mbeere, and he attended a church before he began his launches, or rather campaigns. Remember, Kenya is in campaign mode because of so many by-elections in the country. Of course, almost seven, I think there are 7 by-elections. Kasipul, Malava, Kisa, Magarini. There is those sides of Isiolo, which specific place, I forgot the name. Those are 5. Then we have Mbeere, that is 6. I think there are about 7, all right? So I think this by-election has become very fundamental for any party that wants actually to gain the majority. Now, one thing for sure, even though many people are saying that Gachagua can never work with Ruto, my question is, if in case today um, that is Kenya Kwanza wins, let's just in case, and now Gachagua's party becomes the second, and now they have to share power, will they not share? It's just a question I'm asking. Now that we are seeing the confusion in ODM, we actually believe that a strong opposition can be the only way out. And I don't know. Of course, we really are talking about Gen Zs, but currently Gen Zs, we are not seeing them campaigning, you know. Elections, or rather leadership, is not just received. You don't just receive it. You have to go for it, okay? So what I'm generally saying is that when you look at the campaign mode that is grabbing the country, I realize that Gachagua is trying left, right to ensure that he makes sure that his opposition party is getting it. So I don't know what is going to happen, but as we look around, of course, we can guess what may happen, okay? We may guess what is going to happen. And of course, Mbeere is his home ground. Now, recently, we had seen some young people who had, I don't know whether they were hired or whatever, yeah. So they were shouting and saying that Gachagua should not step in Mbeere, and I laughed at it. I laughed at it because I think when it comes to politics, no one can tell you not to go to your home ground. You know, it's impossible to tell a politician not to go to their home ground. So it happened recently that there were young people who were shouting and telling Gachagua not to step in Mbeere, and I was like, I think you can do anything else, but telling Gachagua not to step there, it's a big mistake. I just thought so. So, of course, on Sunday, finally, Gachagua went to Mbeere. So he went to Mbeere finally, guys. And guess what happened? No one was animostic about him. Peter Mbugua, welcome. So I don't know why people thought there is this team of young people who are shouting against Gachagua just a week ago. And I don't know whether they were hired or something. And I tried to say it is impossible to actually oppose a leader in their home ground. maybe people may try to distract, hire goons, whatever happens in Kenya. We know the politics of Kenya anyway. But you cannot totally block them from reaching their home, because home is home. You know, like my home, how do you block me from going to my home? You may hire some people to distract me so that I don't reach there if I'm campaigning and all that. But at the end of it, I'll just get there. And maybe because the majority are quiet and they know this is our own, they will not do anything. And again, I was just surprised when I saw those young people online trying to say that if Gachagua has to go there, he should be ready, they'll eat whatever it is. I don't want to say it here, guys, because it was not very rosy, whatever they were saying. And I looked at it, I was like, the politics aspect in Kenya, why is it that most times people think violently in campaigns or elections? I think we can actually do our elections or our campaigns without necessarily turning violent. And that will be so rosy. It will actually show our maturity. Yeah, it will prove that we are mature. But when you look at how sometimes we conduct our kind of campaigns, you see a candidate going to a place, then another one comes and maybe hires some people to cause confusion and all that. It's definitely not right. It's definitely not right. And I just don't understand why it happens, but it is what it is. Alvina Pazia, welcome. Peter Mbugwa, welcome. So let's look at Gachagua in Mbeere. Of course, Gachagua was in Mbeere, and he was trying so much to assert himself and tell the people, the young people there, that he was the kingpin. They should listen to him. They should go vote. They should also, support his candidate from his party, and they should guard the votes. And I was like, is there unexpected rigging, or why is Gachagua saying that? So I want us to just pay attention to his speech and see what we can gather from there.
Mutatoka asubuhi kupiga kura. Mapema. Mutanunua Rigathi Gachagua. Ati watu usio uoga. Mutanunua uoga. Mutanunua uoga. Vijana mpo. Vijana mpo. Mimi nataka kuuliza nyinyi, mutatoka asubuhi kupiga kura? Mapema. Saa ngapi? Mimi nataka kuuliza nyinyi, mutanunua uoga? Mutanunua uoga hadi 1,000. Gachagua. Hata huyu Karinda na Roko wametuma hapa askari 1,000. Ati watu usio uoga. Mutanunua uoga? Mutanunua uoga? Vijana mpo. Vijana mpo. Mimi nataka kuuliza nyinyi, mutatoka asubuhi kupiga kura? Mapema. Saa ngapi? Saa ngapi? Saa ngapi? Sasa hapa Mlimani, nani kiongozi wa Mlimani?
Yeah, so before we actually get to listen to who is the kingpin of Mount Kenya, because that is exactly what Gachagua had to ask. The very first part, he's talking about the fact that there is Karinda who has actually ordered the police to create some kind of fear among the people in Mbeere. And I was like, why would Karinda do that? Is he so sure that they are going to vote for the other guy, or what exactly is happening? That is what we call state capture, okay? And I was like, is Gachagua so sure? But most times when Gachagua talks about things, no one even comes to oppose or even take him in for questioning, because they know he has high intelligence. I don't know those who inform him about what is going on in the ground. So possibly he is aware. And I don't know why the by-elections are turning a bit violent. May God just keep us safe. Because now in a scenario where maybe a given leader feels like their own candidate must go through, and they hire goons or they hire people to actually distract the election process, this one becomes a Tanzania. And I think our own president recently during an interview said that Kenya, we are a bit mature in terms of democracy, even though we are not there. So I just listened to that and I was like, really? Did Karinda do that? Anyway, Let's continue to listen. Now, he went forth to ask the young people there, whoever the kingpin is. I don't know whether this was being done for the aspect of the shares in in his party, the United Opposition, or why was that necessary? Anyway, let's listen to this.
Sangapi sasa hapa mlimani, nani kiongozi wa mlimani? Nani kiongozi wa mlimani? Nani kiongozi wa mlimani? Mimi kama kiongozi wenu nimekuja hapa kusaidia nyinyi. Kuanzia leo nitakaa hapa Mbeere North mpaka Karis atakaswe kama mjumbe wa Mbeere North. Harambee! Harambee!
Arambe. Okay, Bad Tooth, welcome in the house. So Mbeere has a by-election. Malava has a by-election. Kaspul has a by-election. Magarini has a by-election. Kisa has a by-election. There is a Kaspul has a by-election. We have another by-election in northeastern. The name always fails me. It's a kind of funny name. Anyway, so these places for by-election have become very fundamental to the politicians. Whether it is Kenya Kwanza, whichever party, they have become very fundamental. The other day, we saw Cleophas Malala actually making a lot of noise at Kisa because of NATEMBEYA. And today, of course, yesterday NATEMBEYA responded. But before that, let's continue to listen to what Gachagua is saying. So Gachagua stepped from step one, reminding the voters to vote regardless of the police. Then went on number two, to remind the people of Mbeere that he was the kingpin of the mountain. Therefore, they should listen to him. And he promised them that he will be camping at mountain until the Karisa gets a position. All right. Now, why is this by-election very fundamental? Remember, the by-election that are being conducted will define what is going to happen later. And I think it's very good that by-election is being conducted, and therefore, people who have been lazy in acquiring the necessary voters card, some of them will actually have to do it early. And then when it comes to the main election, of course, they'll still have to go and vote. Anyway, let's come and listen to something here.
Na kura itakuwa namna hii. Karinda anataka wakiwa na roko watume wakora kutoka Nairobi, kutoka Kisii na kutoka Teso pahali ameolewa. Tunataka kutangaza tukiwa hapa Mbeere North, siku ya kura hakuna mgeni atakubaliwa hapa Mbeere North mpaka uchaguzi pigwe. Harambee! Mimi nataka kutangaza, na hii ni amri yangu kama kiongozi wenu. Nitoe amri nisitoe? Nitoe amri nisitoe? Nitoe amri nisitoe? Vijana wote kuanzia mwaka 18 mpaka 35 wakuwe kwa laini ya kupiga kura saa 9 ya usiku. Tumekubaliana? Tumekubaliana. Wamama wale wako na mtoto moja wawili, wale wachanga, waingie kwa laini saa 10 wafunge laini. Wazee na wamama wote waingie saa 11. Vijana wote ikifumbuliwa kituo, our young men between the age of 13 to 35 ndio watapiga kura ya kwanza.
So actually Gachagua was there campaigning and indicating, even scheduling for them the specific hours of voting. Guys, can you wake up at 3 to go and vote? Anyway, I just wonder, I want to know, is it possible, Bad Tooth or Alvina or Peter Mbugua, can you wake up and by 3 you'll be on the line to queue and vote? I just don't know. For me, I normally go to vote even as late as 2 because that is the time when people are not very much queuing. You know, I hate queues. I really hate queues. Going to queue, I don't like. Even queuing for food, I don't like. So what about queuing to vote? Anyway, it is our responsibility and a duty. But now, when it comes to such an extra sacrifice, I don't know why we should really do much sacrifice. Why? Because me as a Kenyan, apart from peace and maybe, I don't know, what much am I going to gain as a citizen? You know, these leaders, until they show us otherwise, we vote them in, but when they go, We see them with big vehicles, big houses, big life, as the rest of us as citizens suffer. We struggle for loans, we struggle for credits, and our life is very messy, you know. So until that day that our leaders will actually prove to us the need for us to wake up that early and go vote, I don't think I can wake up at even 6 to go vote at 6. I first finish my duty. I can even go to the field. I can go at work until around 2 or 3. That is when I normally go and vote. All right, Michael Chira, welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your comment. And thank you so much, Michael. Welcome as we do this political analysis. All right, so we get to the next point of, discussion. So what else did Gachagua say?
Akishamaliza kupiga kura, walinde wazee na wamama wapige kura yao. Neguo. Alafu vijana wote between the age of 18 to 35 wabaki nje ya polling station mpaka jioni wakichunga kura ya Newton Karisi. Kiongozi ameongea hajaongea? Ni amri si amri? Mtatii amri ya kiongozi wenu? Mtashindwa kulinda kura yenu? Imwanacha Mbeere mwekua. Nemoko gitira kura. Nemo ikarage tuwa inemo gitira kura cianyu.
Mugigitira kura cienu. Okay, so we will learn Mbeere by force by fire. Mugigitira kura cienu. Okay. It is what it is. So Gachagua is scared that the election may be rigged. So he's saying mugigitira kura cienu. Okay, I'm learning. This is Kenya. I want to learn all the languages so that when I go to any place, I can speak the Somali language when I'm in Garissa. I know how to speak the Mijikenda languages. I know how to speak the Luya languages. I know some little Doluo, and some little Kikuyu. Then I'm learning some little Kalenjin. Why not? Kisi I can understand even though I can't speak the Pokot and all that. Anyway, it is what it is, guys. So Gachagua is actually showing that he's afraid the process of election might not be free and fair. Why is he campaigning that the young men wait outside the polling station so that before evening they got the votes? Now, my question is, normally when we go to vote, we find that there are these policemen who say you vote and go home. How is he going to make sure that the young people whom he's giving the law of waiting upon will not cause a lot of problems around the polling station? Because I always see during the election process, you vote and you are told go home. But he's telling them to wait and gugidira kura sienu. Okay. Or siao, whatever. So Gachagua went on and on to drop a bombshell, possibly to rattle the president. I don't know. Possibly that is what he meant. And he also was in church. We want to see what he said while in church, because just before we get to NATEMBEYA and see what he said after MALALA last week attacked him. Now let's listen to the church moment and what Gachagua said.
Lene Kivuti and J.B. Muturi are senior to me as elders. Walikaniita, wakaniambia sisi ni watu ya Mbeere. Tumeongea na watu ya Mbeere, tumesikiza ground, na watu ya Mbeere wameamua. Wanataka Newton Karisi akuwe mjumbe wa Mbeere North. Mimi kama mtoto ambaye ni mwaminifu kwa wazee, nikasema kama wazee wamesema ya kwamba candidate wa watu wa Mbeere North ni Newton Karisi, mimi kama Rigathi Gachagua kazi yangu ni kutii wazee. Kwa hivyo nikaondoa candidate na sisi sote tunaunga Karisi mkono. Na mimi kuelewa kwangu, kama Mbeere, Kivuti na Muturi wameongea, Kuna mtu mwingine ya kuongea? Hiyo horodo adira. Kwa gwa wa Mbeere de mwire. Mutikenderio guoya ni mundu. Na mungienderio mutikagure. Ona ndigwiciria mwina mbeca cia kugura guoya. Andu wa Mbeere matiguraga guoya. Na unajua ile shida tuko nayo hapa, Dr. Kalonzo Musyoka, ni gavana wa Embu huyu Mbeere wameshikana na Kasongo, wanataka kulazimisha candidate hapa Mbeere North, na huyu Karinda anasema ati watu ya Mbeere hawakumchagua na atawafundisha adabu, wajue yeye ndiye gavana wa Embu na mtachagua candidate wake, mpende msipende. Na anasema kura yake na Kasongo inatosha, yeye hahitaji kura ya watu ya Mbeere. Ndio leo askari wamemwagwa hapa karibu 1000 ati huyu Karinda akitaka kuuzia watu ya Mbeere uoga. Watu ya Mbeere, watu ya Mlima Kenya, sisi ndio tulifukuza Muingereza hapa, Mudhungu, Mweru, tutika Karinda, Mudhungu.
So Gachagua in charge still was doing politics, guys. You know, in normal situations, in churches, we just find these people come, they say whatever they want and they go. But now Gachagua has turned even churches into a platform for campaign. So he's here saying, we've sent away the white. What about Karinda? And of course, Karinda is Mbeere, I think, from my understanding. He is actually there officially trying to endorse Kalonzo for presidential candidate 2027 in his communication. Actually, when you listen to the discourse, that's what you get. And he's trying to indicate that his problem right here is Mbeere. That Mbeere has forcefully brought the president and they want to force a candidate. Of course, that is the language of every politician. But we are watching. We are watching. We are watching very closely, and we want to see what is going to happen. But how I wish the campaign of Kenya would actually be a peaceful one, and where people are just coming and giving their initiatives without necessarily mentioning those others. Unfortunately, it has been very impossible in Kenya to have a campaign. Kandanyakua Laban. Is it Sanda or Sandinyakua or Kandinyakua Laban? I don't know. It's not a familiar name. It's a name that I've not seen common. It's not a common name. So if I say it wrongly, forgive me. Forgive me, for I don't know how to say it. Okay, so we see Gachagua coming here and in church, talking politics, and the clergy smiling. Of course, of late, we understand that the clergy are very active in politics, guys. So let's listen again.
Nitakuja kirasmi kama kiongozi wa jamii kufunga hizo mahoteli zote. Alafu ndio watu waende uchaguzi. Tufunge hoteli ama tusifunge? Nifunge leo ama tarehe 24? Nifunge leo? Tufunge hoteli? Unajua watu ya Mbeere, muko na nafasi mfanye vile watu ya Kipipiri walifanya Moi 1994. Pale Kipipiri Moi alifanya vile Kasongo anafanya hapa Mbeere. Akamwaga vikingi ya stima kila boma. Akalete malori, akapatia kila mtu shilingi 1000, watu wakakula. Siku ya uchaguzi imebaki siku 4, hoteli ikafungwa. Mtu ya Moi akapata kura 1700 wa DP. History is repeating itself. Today, we have a DP candidate kama yule alikuwa Kipipiri, akapata 29,000 votes. Mimi nauliza nyinyi, nikiwa kiongozi wenu, tukiungana na Lene Kivuti na JB, huyu candidate wa Karinda na Kasongo against the people of Mbeere. This is a contest between Kasongo and Karinda on one side, na watu ya Mbeere on the other side. Nani atashinda? Nani atashinda? The contest is simple. Kwa sababu huyu kijana Mbeere to use you
Okay, so Mbeere is directly being talked to here and Kasongo himself. Guys, I just have to laugh at this because, of course, there was also the ordination of Dorcas. Okay, there was also ordination of Pastor Dorcas. And that moment, Gachagua did not fail to speak. But I don't want to go into that because there is a lot I'm going to cover in this video. So let me just focus on Mbeere. Of course, I've talked about it already. I don't know what you think. I don't know what you think. But we have seen a lot. And of course, Ndindi Nyoro also came out to speak at some point. And I just want to bring Ndindi Nyoro. And after that, we can proceed.
Is sponsored by the government. That the Ministry of Education, the government of Kenya, has sent a circular to our principals, purportedly referring to a Gazette notice of 2015, wanting to reduce capitation to our day schools, day secondary schools, from 22,000 to 12,000 shillings. I want to assure you, as a member of parliament, I will do everything possible within my powers to make the government rescind that decision.
Okay, that was Ndindi Nyoro. Ndindi Nyoro is a serious economist, by the way. And personally, I don't like the decision of the government deciding to reduce capitation, because what I see from where I sit is that many parents will not manage to pay fees. Currently, they were paying very little, and already many students were at home. But the dropout rate had reduced from what I have been collecting around in schools. But the reality is, if this fees is going to rise, automatically the number of dropouts will rise. And even those will not transition from junior school to senior secondary school automatically. Because for one thing, fee has been raised. Because once you drop capitation, the only thing the schools do is to raise fees so that they can satisfy the need. Remember, food is very expensive in the country. Even though they have been talking about maize has been harvested fully, now food is there. The reality is that on the ground, schools have to buy this food, or maybe allow parents to pay fees in terms of maize. And the normal scale small farmer, they don't harvest a lot. And if they don't harvest a lot, they cannot pay everything to fee and, start begging for food. That tells you that most of families will have a problem. They will not be able to sustain their children in school. And when you look at that decision, I don't know how it came about, because if these people are raising their allowances, actually we saw through last year up to this year, we have had a lot of proposals in parliament to raise allowances for the MPs, the senators, the governors. Why then are they making a decision to reduce the capitation, and they are raising their money allowances because they say there is inflation? Does inflation only happen to the leaders that we have, or does it happen to everybody? They don't want to raise salaries. All they do is to reduce salaries by maybe cutting out some amount towards housing, some amount towards retirement, some amount towards this. But when it comes to allowances, they simply raise it for themselves. That is a selfish act, right? Now, when you look at that, we also have seen a lot of stealing of money. Even though some projects have been done, we can't actually demean that. We've seen some few projects being done in Kenya, some roads, maybe some markets. But then we have very important things which need to be prioritized. Yesterday, we heard about what Pierre Lumumba was talking. Considering that you have a problem, you look at the problems, you prioritize which ones have to be handled first, then you set a plan to see through how to solve it, then work through it. But now, there is a problem that is coming. In January, a lot of parents will be crying. I don't know why the members of parliament are this callous. They don't care about the welfare of citizens when they make their decisions. So let us listen at what Ndindi Nyoro was trying to say. But I don't know when he says he will do everything in his capacity. Him alone cannot change everything. But I hope maybe he will have to, mobilize others to see the will to enhance increment of allowances, or not allowances, but capitation in schools. Because it's unfortunate. Schools have been straining. How can you reduce their capitation? Then you raise the fee of boarding school, including all levels, and say the fee should be 54,000. That one is going to choke parents, actually. So let's check on what Ndindi Nyoro said here.
Because education plays a very critical role in development of any country. In a country like Kenya, ambayo mapato iko chini, I know firsthand because of Kiharu Masomo Bora that even some parents cannot even afford to pay the 1,000 shillings just for school fees.
Yes.
Now the government has written to our principals in day schools that now the parent will be paying 9,300 shillings on top of what they have been paying for food. And therefore they are taking the fee for day schools
higher
from what was around 12,000 across the country
to 21.
That the learners will be made to pay over 20,000 shillings per year in our day schools. We cannot allow that to happen. Kwa sababu huyu mtu ambaye alipe hiyo fedha akikosa, huyo mtu atakuwa gharama kubwa hata kwa nchi kama hatapata elimu. And I want to request those who are in government, even all of us, including myself as leaders, as a leader, we are all beneficiaries of our communities, taking us to schools. We are all beneficiaries of our country, giving us a through pass to go to school. We cannot digress. We cannot go back. And I have seen there is a penchant. There is a concerted effort, almost deliberate, of taking away the free basic education in Kenya. We keep seeing conflicting information. This person in government says this other one says this other one says this. Now the culmination is setting a circular to day schools principals to add school fees from January. I want to request our leaders, all the money we are using to manage politics in Kenya is more than enough to say to our day schools to make even...
Yeah, true. That is a very critical point. How much money do politicians use to campaign? How much money do they use to, like we see them going to churches, giving 2 million, giving 10 million, giving 5 million. That money is enough actually to give to day schools if they decide. And that will have served the nation because churches are already there, they are built and they can be done slowly. But schools, you cannot wait. Education doesn't wait. When a child is at a certain age to go through primary education or high school, you cannot wait. Anyway, I don't know why this effort is being made to actually curtail education, but it's a very, it means that our nation is losing it. If you actually make students suffer going to school because of school fees, then you are actually making a very serious offense. Very serious offense.
In the schools free in Kenya. And we have to get our priorities right. There is no way you'll come, you do baraza sponsored by government in the same budget, then you come to tell us that there is no money for capitation for our secondary schools. In Kenya, those who are in government look at us very clearly.
By the way, let me ask, we have been seeing these State House meetings and people are going there and receiving 10,000 Kenyan shillings. And a lot of people went there. Within that period of those meetings, when people are going to State House, we had a group of people from Kisii, Murang'a, the youth, we had even teachers and all that. Wouldn't that money have been put together and put for schools? I just don't understand. As Ndindi Nyoro is saying, it's failure to understand priorities. Because if you have serious economists, just as we had Mwai Kibaki, we would actually have to reframe our nation. Our president comes out and tells us that, yeah, we have finally done, I don't know, we have done roads, we have done markets. He tells us he has hired teachers. He is hiring teachers, but he doesn't want students to go to school. Because if you now raise fees for parents, you don't want students to go to school. Who are those teachers going to teach? It's very ironical, actually. Very ironical. If you are raising fees for students, it's clear message to parents that your students will not go to school if you don't have money. And if anyone knows in Kenya what is happening, the economy is very tough. Economic times are very tough. Things are not sweet and flowery. So automatically, if things are not flowery and sweet, what does that mean? Many students will opt to sit at home and begin helping their parents to survive instead of going to school. And then what? So what will those teachers that he's saying he's hiring do? That's just my question. I want people to reason and think out before we get to the political situation where people will be easily saying, I've been given sugar, I've been given a piece of cloth, so I should vote for so and so. Anyway, let's see.
And I'm looking at you directly. We are not going to allow any leader to play around with free basic education in Kenya. We have had our brothers and sisters, trained teachers, qualified graduates, volunteering as interns in our secondary schools, both junior and senior in Kenya, most of them in junior secondary, with a stipend of 17,000 shillings. Their contract, the one they signed with government, was a one-year contract for internship. Now we are almost in December because now it's November. Schools are opening in January. And TSC is not showing any indication of even being aware that the contracts are coming due this year, the end of this year.
That is a very good whistleblowing that Ndindi Nyoro did. Actually, when you are planning for your home or your country or institution or even company, when you plan for things, you are supposed to oversee what is going to happen. And when that time comes, if you have given a promise, you better fulfill it. It's not very good actually to make promises. Sometimes I feel bad that I make a promise to kids and I don't fulfill it. I should fulfill my promise, even when I'm teaching students and tell them, today I'm going to buy you an escort or mandazi. I normally make sure I do buy for them, because if you just keep promises and promises, that motivation goes away. And those people you're promising come to learn that you lied to them. And therefore, that's why they'll tell you liar, kaongo, and all those names. And sometimes you will blame them, but indeed, you are the one playing that narrative. So how I wish that actually the teachers who have been teaching as interns should now be absorbed, because they are saying they have hired almost 100,000 teachers. But the reality is that some of them are on stipend payment. Now you look at Kenya earning a salary of 17,000 after going through college for 4 years and also tarmacking maybe. You are sacrificing, you are supposed to pay rent, you are supposed to buy whatever necessities you require, and then they say teachers are not performing, they don't love their work, they don't commit to their work. You can only earn that if you are also having another job elsewhere. So that is just part-time and you work on something else. However, when you look at how these teachers have been treated, especially under the head teachers, it is that some of them have been forced to go to school as early as 7 and leave at 5. So which means at night, of course, in Kenya, you can't have anything to do unless you are a content creator like me. You can't have anything to do. And even if you are a content creator, you can only do one video because you are tired. Unless you are also in your home, you can also go feed your cattle. But most of them are not even working in their homes. So you imagine that kind of strain someone is going through, and then you want them to be role models to students. How can you be a role model when you are poor yourself? You are a poor teacher. How do you become a role model to a student and make them be inspired to be you or be better than you? It's unfortunate, actually. It's unfortunate. How I wish people knew that if they really want teachers to be role models, teachers should have the best life so that students now see the interest of even staying in school. Some students don't even want to be in school because they look at teachers and wonder, who is this? Why is this one telling me this? And their life is desperate. They don't even have a car. They don't even have the best clothes. They don't even have the best hairstyle. They look at their mothers who are selling stuff in the market and they say, my mother is better. They look at their father who is a serious farmer, maybe who made it with connections, and they say, my father is better. So they don't understand even why the teacher is making noise to them or creating rules, the do's and don'ts. Anyway, Ndindi Nyoro continued to speak, and after this I want to go to NATEMBEYA.
The government must confirm to permanent and pensionable terms all the 20,000 interns in our JSS institutions. And if I say there is no budget for that, I have been there. There are many ways of doing it. The government has a leeway of spending up to 10% of the money outside of the budget. Under the article called 223, they can bring to Parliament for ratification later. So TSC tafadhali, all the JSS interns must be confirmed into permanent and pensionable. If you don't have the budget, as members of Parliament, we are giving you permission, spend, we will ratify later. But as of now, give indications on confirming them to permanent and pensionable terms in January next year. We need to come back.
Those were very good thoughts. And now let's look at NATEMBEYA. We remember the other day, Cleophas Malala actually came out to vindicate, this guy, NATEMBEYA, indicating that NATEMBEYA has been bought by Ruto and he's working along with him. So we waited to see whether NATEMBEYA would speak. And now he came out to speak. I don't know whether he defended himself, he attacked or reacted, or, we have a reactional kind of response you can offer, or you just offer a diplomatic one. So let's listen to the kind of response NATEMBEYA offered to Cleophas.
Nikisema wenye hawana shilingi 50 hawatoki hapa. Wangapi watalala hapa? Si karibu wote mtalala hapa? Yenye mnafikiri umaskini ya aina hiyo ni ya kawaida kweli? Kuna mtu amekaa mahali akasema tunyanyaze hawa watu, hata wakizana wakwe milioni ngapi wataendelea kufanya kazi ya watchman, kazi ya maid, kazi ya kuchimba makaburi, kitu chafu. Sisi tumesema, tumejitolea muhanga, sisi viongozi ambao tuko sahihi. Tumesema kwamba hatutaangalia starehe yetu kama gavana. Ningekuwa ukienda Nairobi utapata wenzangu wamepeleka watoto wao na bia wanaenda kule kwa beach. Wanaangalia the holiday imeanza. Mimi niko hapa naongea na watu wangu. Mimi sitaki kuwa MP wa Malaba, lakini Waluya nyinyi, ile kura wa Kabras na jamii zingine ambazo ziko Malaba, vile mtapiga kula 2027 ndiye taamua hatima ya Mluya kufikia mwaka 2027. Tarehe 27 mwezi huu vile mtapiga kura itaamua kama kwa ile meza tutakuwa ama hatutakuwa. Mutoke wote siku hiyo, hata mtu akikupatia kibarua tarehe 27 wanasema kura ikikuwa kidogo tofauti wataiba. Tumesema hawezi kuiba kura. Na mimi naambia maofisa wa serikali kuanzia assistant chief, chief, DO, DC, hata county commissioner wa Kakamega, tafadhali ondokeni kwa siasa. Mimi nilikuwa huko, play a neutral role ili wananchi wa exercise the democratic right bila kusumbuliwa, bila kushurutishwa. Wala ambao wanapanga guns kwenda kupiga wamama na vijana wetu wakienda kupiga kura. I'm assuring you, ule Kitale wananiitanga mimi komando, hamutacheza na panyako, hamutacheza na yo.
So finally NATEMBEYA has come to Malava and asserted the same candidate whom we saw Malala asserting, Panyako. So Seth Panyako is actually the candidate who the opposition united is supporting. Now the other day, actually, we saw Cleophas Malala addressing NATEMBEYA, indicating that he is being used, and because of the police aspect mindset, he is being used by the current government to do the dirty work. Now let's see. What do you think? Do you think actually NATEMBEYA came up to speak what he said because he wanted to respond to Malala, or is it just a clean act? He has come with the guy from Ikolomani, and they are right here. So let's see.
Kura ya Panyako ni kura ya kufa kupona kwa Muluya, ndio? Hatutacheza nayo, na nyinyi vijana piga kura na msitoke hapo. Tumeelewana? Paka kura ihesabiwe, huyu Panyako atatangaza saa 2 ya usiku. Haitafika saa 6 usiku. Mnaenda nyumbani kufanya nini? Hiyo kelele mnasikia kutoka kwa Mheshimiwa Malala sio mbaya. He's a young bull. Hajajua, anajibu na nyasi kwa mdomo. Mheshimiwa Malala, you know your history. We know your history. Tunakupenda. You served as our senator. Bila mimi Malala, wewe ungeonja kiti ya MCA. Kwa sababu ulisimama kwetu huko Isuha Mayakalo. Kweli urongo.
Oh my God. So finally, we see that there was a response there to Malala, but just I think it was more of, we can say, diplomatic. So we did not see him actually coming reactional on that response, of course. And I want us now to discuss matters of Ethiopia, Senegal, and Nigeria, guys. All right? So let's get to discuss matters Ethiopia. We start with Ethiopia before we go to other places.
95 ሰው ገድያለሁ ብሏል። ዛሬ ሜትሮን ቅኝቱ ሲቀጥል የአገዛዙ የድሮን ድብደባ በዓለም አቀፍ ጋዜጠኞች በኩል
So those are the pictures of Ethiopia. Of course, you understand there is a specific region that is greatly affected here. Okay.
ተሽከርካሪ ላይ ጉዳት ማጋጠሙም ተነግሯል። ትናንት በሰሜን ወሎ ዞን ጓጃ ላይ የፋኖ ኃይሎች የከፈቱት ጥቃት ሀገር አቋራጭ መንገዱን ጭምር ዘግቶ የነበረ ሲሆን ዛሬም በደቡብ ወሎ
All right, guys. I really understand very little Somali. I lived at Garissa at some point and understand some little Somali language. So anyway, guys, what is happening in Ethiopia is quite disheartening. So let's start with Ethiopia, actually. So Ethiopia is a nation at war with itself, okay? So what is happening in Ethiopia is an ancient, broken... Ethiopia used to be a very ancient, proud, and broken country. But today we have battles with deadly mix of wars. We have digital repression and we have famine that is going on in Ethiopia. Actually, the specific area that is affected in Ethiopia is Amhara region. Amhara region is an entire town. Entire towns in that region have been sealed off, and civilians are trapped between militias and federal forces. Okay? So we have drones. Some are foreign, just stuck in marketplaces. They are killing children and women. So you look at Oromia and Tigray. These are communities that say aid trucks arrive empty and they never come at all sometimes, because Tigray and Oromia are actually kind of landlocked in the militia federal force war. So the government has used extended internet blackouts in that place to hide operations from the world, so that the world doesn't understand what's going on. There is displacement camps and thousands of lives in tents, so overcrowded that diseases have spread faster than food can be distributed. Okay? Now I want you to look at these pictures, for example, in Ethiopia. These are the common aspects you will see. These are the soldiers from the Ethiopian National Defense Force, trained specifically to handle 70-kilometer northeast of the city of Gondar. So they have been on mission for the longest time possible, since 2021, right? So the conflict between the Ethiopian army and rebels in the country's most populated region has very devastating consequences on civilians. Actually, recently, the International Committee of Red Cross warned that there is a lot of devastating impact. So even though Ethiopia, as one of the most populated nation with almost 130 million inhabitants, has been peaceful in past, currently there is torn aspects because of the armed conflicts. So Oromia is surrounds the capital of Addis Ababa, okay? And we have clashes since 2018. So Federo and Oroma Liberation Army have been, just fighting, no peace at all. And authorities have classified the OLA as a terrorist organization, but that group claims itself to be fighting for the rights of the region's approximately 40 million inhabitants. So who is who? The ongoing conflict in Oromia region is having very devastating effect on the people. And of course you can see right here, as I show you these pictures right here, you can see this happening in your country.
አካባቢ ተኩስ ልውውጥ እንደነበር ታውቋል። በዛው በወሎ ቀጠና ላሊበላ አቅራቢያ ኩል መስክ አካባቢም እንዲሁ በክልሉ ውጊያ ላይ ነኝ የሚለው የመከላከያ ሰራዊቱም ጭምር ነው። እንደ ሰራዊቱ መግለጫ ከሆነ የኮማንዶና አየር ወለድ ክፍሉን ወደ ጎጃም አስገብቶ እንዲዋጋ እያደረገው ይገኛል። ይህ የሌትናንት ጀነራል ሹማ አብደታ እዝ በአመዛኙ ስምሪት ወስዶም ከኢትዮጵያውያን ወጣቶች ጋር እርስ በርስ ይጋደል ዘንድ ይደረግ የነበረው በሰሜን ሸዋ ዞን እንደነበር ይታወቃል። እንዲያም ሆኖ የምስራቅ እዝ ከባህር ዳር ቅርብ ርቀት ባሉ አካባቢዎች የማያቋርጥ የ6 ቀናት የጸረ ሽምቅ ውጊያ አካሄድኩ ብሏል። ከጥቅምት 27 ጀምሮ እስከ ህዳር 2 ባሉት ለ6 ተከታታይ ቀናትም በባህር ዳር ዙሪያ በሰሜንና ምዕራብ ጎጃም
Yeah, that guy is the spokesperson of the Orma front. And when we watch in other videos, you'll realize that he's saying he's fighting for the freedom, or rather the peace of the people, because currently, because of the fight that has landlocked them, they are not being defended by anybody, so they have to actually defend themselves. Whoever is saying the truth, I don't know, because yesterday I looked at this video. I should look for that video that is English version, so that you understand what I'm talking about here. Let me just check on the video.
by taking up arms in this fight?
No, we're not. We're not. It's the government. The government attacked us. A small amount, and of course, we rely for munitions from the battlefield. From what we capture from government troops. So it should be clear that we're very self-sufficient. It's a very self-sufficient movement. We do not rely on external support for defending ourselves from genocide.
Okay, then explain more about what is actually happening to your people now, including the civilians in your area, because the director of the International Committee of the Red Cross actually told us in our reports that they are facing, as he said, an avalanche of requests and humanitarian needs and transporting critically injured patients for treatments and surgeries. Are you in part then responsible for that by taking up arms in this fight?
No, we're not. We're not. It's the government. The government attacked us, and we had no choice but to defend ourselves. Like I said, on the basis of our ethnicity. This is Malalings, irrespective of who we are. The children. There was no exception for infants. There was no exception for pregnant women. There was no exception for elderly people. The government troops just rounded up everyone.
All right, so that's Eskinda Nega, the chairperson of Amhara Fano People's Organization, speaking. And whatever he's trying to say,
and this was not one or two incidents.
Is that the government kept attacking them and they had to actually look for a way to defend themselves. I don't know how proper that is. But looking at what is happening currently in Ethiopia, when conflicts intensify, the first casualty is the internet, of course. And when the internet goes down, as it happened in Amhara, Ethiopia, journalists lose access. So there's no way they are reaching them to air whatever is happening to the world. Activists are vanished online in Ethiopia, Amhara parts, and soldiers now move silently. And whatever happens is just a report that has to be shared. Only recently did Red Cross intervene and begin airing what is happening there. So in Ethiopia, the silence is louder than the gunfire, of course. And because silence is controlled, engineered, and weaponized, you can imagine the picture of what the Ethiopia people are going, or rather are encountering. So what must be done? When we look at Ethiopia, we need actually a situation where we have immediate independent investigation into the drone strikes on civilians, because even when they ask, for example, you can see here the guy Eskinda Nega, the chairperson of Amhara Fano People's Organization, is being questioned. Do you think he will actually give the right information? I don't think so. He cannot be the source of information fully. But we need an immediate independent investigation to conduct, an investigation into what is happening right there. But it's quite risky. It's not an easy thing to do. Apart from that, of course, we need humanitarian corridors protected by neutral observers. The humanitarian people who are going there, like Amnesty, we have Red Cross and all those. They need a lot of protection because they have a problem to actually reach interior part of Amhara and Oroma and also help the society right there. We also need solutions such as the banning of weaponized internet shutdowns, because once the internet is shut down, information cannot get out as it is. We get second-hand information which may not be true. So, of course, that can happen only when we have penalties from the African Union. And I don't know what currently Mohammed is doing after being elected into the African Union. The other thing that needs to be done is actually the inclusive national dialogue. There is need for international involved parties to come handy and engage the Tigray people, the Oroma, the Afar, and Somali groups, and as well Amhara, so that we have an inclusive national dialogue that has all the people to talk, so that they don't feel like there is a tribe that is being targeted here. I think there's also need for massive investment in climate adaptation, because many people are suffering from inadequacies of food in Ethiopia because of drought that is fueling further conflict in the place. The bigger truth is actually that with what is happening, there is a need for initiatives to be taken. Maybe let's look at, I want us to look at this. I want us to look at what is happening in Nigeria. Of course, I talked about it the other day, but I just feel like sometimes you have to keep talking about things. Now, looking at Nigeria is another giant under siege. Of course, Nigeria, the so-called giant of Africa, has become a bleeding giant too currently. So, shocking realities about Nigeria. Nigeria is actually facing hunger that is killing more people than bullets, I can say. And the entire communities of the Katsina, the Zamfara, the Kaduna, and Bono people are actually surviving on one meal every 2 days. The other day I was having people coming to my channel and communicating, and they were actually saying that there is a lot of problems for people at Bono, Zamfara, Katsina, and Kaduna. And how I wish that they get this, the solution towards the hunger problem right there. We also have children who are disappearing in Nigeria, not being kidnapped for ransom, but they are being kidnapped to join extremist groups or sold into trafficking routes stretching across Niger to Libya. It's very sad when you have your children disappearing and they turn out as soldiers who will be very cruel later, not official legal soldiers to protect a country, but to be used in Boko Haram to fight. We've also seen villages being wiped out overnight by bandits, and who now carry weapons more advanced than even the local police. Okay? It's unfortunate for a village to be just wiped out and everything turns out to be normal trash instead of necessities. We've seen also security agencies are overwhelmed in Nigeria, so that we have some outnumbers of 10 to 1, you know. Politicians are escorted to armored convoys while citizens trek past corpses to unsafe highways. And it's an economic shocker in Nigeria because removing fuel subsidies didn't raise the prices. It collapsed family livelihoods overnight. So when fuel subsidies were removed in Nigeria, it actually caused a lot of problems, the rise in fuel, and at the same time, family livelihoods were collapsed because when fuel is raised in any country, anyone understands the consequence of that. There is a bag of rice now costing more than a minimum wage worker earns in a week. How can you survive? That's why they're eating one meal in 2 days. And the youth are frustrated in exploding, with millions saying that they would leave the country today if given a chance. Now, that is disillusionment, and when that situation happens, patriotism is lost through the window, and it can't be gained anymore. So Nigeria is not just hungry, it's deliberately being starved. And that is because of silence, mismanagement, and corruption that is happening in the country. And I just think that there is necessity to do the following. Like, though we don't have statistics, I don't have statistics, I have very few statistics that I'll be sharing. The reality is that there is need to declare hunger as a national emergency in Nigeria. There is also need to deploy technology and drones against insurgent camps that are actually destroying Nigeria. There is sense in putting a public audit on all fuel subsidy savings so that even every naira in Nigeria is accounted for. When we look at the unemployment aspect, there is also sense in focusing on national service programs for the youth so that they don't feel like they need to get out of Nigeria any moment. And I think the last solution for Nigeria is community policing for federal backing to reclaim villages, because villages have been actually swept in a night by the Boko Haram and NPLCA, is it called so? That is a very devastating fact, and we can look at Nigeria right here. What is happening? You can see these forces right here with rifles ready to fire and do whatever they need to do. And of course, we saw with Boko Haram has killed almost more than 60 people every time they attack a place. And currently the numbers are very high. So like villages like Darul, Jamal have been commonly attacked. Yeah. And we've seen that even militants are being swept down. They are being killed. And we have more houses and buses being destroyed in places, drivers, laborers, and different places, people all over the place. Yeah, you visit villages, you will find that people are crying because they would wish to be resettled, but where will they be resettled? So we have a numerical strength of Nigerian army, but that is not enough in the situation. And forest guards happening to be there to actually embattle the region. And Nigeria Air Force spokesperson are trying to say surveillance has to be conducted because militants are fleeing northwards from the town towards the nearby bushes, and a series of precise and successful strikes happening with fleeing terrorists that have decisively engaged with them, and that is resulting in neutralization of the insurgents. And that is a very serious aspect that is happening in Nigeria. And this has not just started today. It started as early as, was it 2015? Alexander Bryant says, "Don't worry, my sister, the U.S. Army will be there soon." I hope so, because situations are not very good in Nigeria. Situations are not good, actually. And when this continues, it is disheartening that there is a disillusionment in the eyes of many. Yeah, so that situation of Nigeria is quite disheartening. And unfortunately now, Senegal, which was a democracy that we trusted in, is going to face a tightrope. Currently, when you look at what is happening in Senegal, we were hoping for Senegal to rescue from West Africa, at least to be as a stable democracy. But unfortunately, behind that colorful market and musical festival, there is a growing storm in Senegal that is also worrying us, because the shocking reality is that political prisoners vanish for weeks without court appearances. Can you imagine? Political prisoners just vanishing like that, and there is no court appearance. Then students have been shot with live ammunition during protests, a fact that is deliberately underreported because the country doesn't want to show the problems that are going on for international image. A digital army of bots is actually used to attack the activists online. Yeah, so flagging accounts until they disappear. Then we have an entire neighborhood that is erupting at night with the youth versus the police battles with unseen mainstream media. Then firearms meant for the police operations are allegedly leaking into the private hands. That becomes very risky. Economically, there are a lot of shocks also in Senegal, with coastal fishing communities collapsing because now foreign vessels are emptying Senegalese waters and leaving local families to starve. Youth are also facing a lot of unemployment, just like what is happening in Ethiopia, Oroma and Tigray, and those other areas, and what is happening as well in Nigeria. The same thing is happening now in Senegal. And I don't know. So many boys are actually boarding illegal boats to Europe, and they never arrive. Of course, you understand what happens on the way. Now, Senegal's crisis didn't start on the streets. It started in the boardrooms, where leaders valued their power more than the people. So the president and the vice president had their differences, and with that personal, ego, it is sweeping down Senegal slowly. So I think what must be done in Senegal, there is need to establish an independent truth commission that will actually have to check on protest killings and political arrests. There is also need to ban foreign fishing vessels and the local stock recover as a process to actually restore the aspect of economic growth. There is need to reform electoral system that will prevent manipulation and elite capture. that is currently happening in Senegal. And I think there will be sense in creating continent pressure coalition like ECOWAS youth movement to save the situation in Senegal. Actually, investing massively in local industries is also very important. I don't know whether this is possible. But the bigger truth is that Africa as a continent is being held hostage by silence. A lot of silence that is sitting on what is happening around the Africa at large. You remember I shared what happened in Tanzania, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire. I shared Sudan. I have shared Uganda, Kenya, and I continue to share many other situations because Africa is not good at all. The bigger truth is that there is silence that is holding hostage many of these nations. Nigeria bleeds, Senegal trembles, Ethiopia cries. 3 nations, 3 crises, but one pattern, silence. A silence fed by fear, maintained by power, and protected by propaganda. Okay, and crossing country patterns, you just see that there is political elites disconnected from suffering, the youth unemployment reaching explosive levels, and digital censorship rising across the continent. Humanitarian aid cutting, have received cuts, so the worst is coming to the families, and militarization of local conflicts turning villages into war zones. It's unfortunate, and the only aspect to call for action in a whistleblower mission is this is not a documentary as such. It is just a warning, a call to conscience, a reminder that change does not begin in palaces. It begins with voices, in awareness, in exposure. Yeah. So kindly share this and discuss this, challenge the leaders, support the journalists, protect digital freedoms, because when Africa's giant falls, when its democracy cracks, and when its ancient kingdoms burn, the world does not escape the smoke. Be informed, be bold, be a whistleblower as we get to reach the different places as to what is happening in the world. And of course, you understand that this is actually putting families at stake, lives at stake, and it's unfortunate actually as we continue talking about this as if it's just a story for the other day. And I'll be coming later in the evening to talk about Uganda. There is something going on currently with the campaigns from Museveni and all that is happening right there. And much in Kenya as well, because there is currently, a proceeding that is being attended by our President Ruto and much more. So thank you so much, Alexander Brandt, Kantinyakwa Laban, Michael Chira, Bad Tooth, Alvina, Peter Mbugwa, and all those of you who have watched for the 1 hour that we have been here. I'm so appreciative, but I hope my channel will actually touch the souls and help to save the situations that are happening across the world. Thank you so much. I was your host, Priska, and welcome again once more. We will be meeting more for more discussions. Bye-bye for now. Have a nice time, and I appreciate for the help.